Welcome, everybody. I just wanted to say a couple things about our team, where we're at. You know, obviously our record, what our record is 3-2, obviously, but you know, you can't really tell that by the way our kids have been, you know, putting the effort in, the time and the practice. I've been really pleased for the last 5 weeks, the way they've been practicing and the way they go about their business. And you know, you can go all the way back to camp and the 4 weeks that we were in the camp. So I'm very pleased where we're at. And I think we got a lot of young guys that are growing in their positions, and they're learning us on the run. And I think this is a good break over here to reevaluate some of our players and you know, some of our schemes, and then move on to the next one of Wisconsin in a week from now or less.
You've been blitzing, it seems like more, especially the last couple of weeks, big games. Why is that, and what's that done for you?
Well, I think you know, you look at different situations, and it's depending on, you know, who you're sending on a blitzer. That's one. Norm Parker always used to say, you know, it's not about the blitz; it's about the guys that you're sending. We have probably brought more blitzes on different situations on second down, maybe that you know, haven't really done in the past. But I think it's helped us a little bit and keep the quarterbacks a little bit off balance and uncomfortable. But you know, when you blitz, you got to make sure that you cover guys, and sometimes it can get you if you blitz. You know, sometimes it can hit you one play like it did last week, and so. But you got to live with that. And you got to live with it. Say, hey, the success that you had, we blitzed on a couple fourth downs and one, and we won a couple of those. I think it was, you know, 3 of them. So you know, there's a trade-off. You know what I mean? And the same thing with coverages in the back end. You know, if you want to play press coverage or if you want to play too high in a shell, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want to let them move the ball down slowly, or you know, 4 or 5 plays and all of a sudden they hit a big play, and then hopefully you can hold them to a field goal. You know, so the philosophies, you know, hasn't really changed about, you know, the explosive plays. I think, you know, we've probably given up too many explosive plays so far, and then I mean 25 or more. So we're still working on that and trying to make sure that everything's important, every play is important, and kids got to understand that.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. I wanted to piggybacking off of that. The call on it was a 3rd and 10 from the Iowa 49,
Yeah.
and decided to bring the pressure. I know that had generated Zach's pick earlier in the game, but can you kind of just walk through the decision making process in bringing pressure in that situation?
You know, it's usually a fill in the game of how we're going about things, and you know, I did bring the pressure on the other one, got the interception on it, but it was a time where, hey, it's either they're getting a little bit close to kick a field goal, the time's starting to run a little bit down. I thought we had to hurry up and make a decision on, hey, put a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, see if we can get it out. You know, are they going to punt it after that? And you know, and it's just it was just a little bit. You know, that's the way those things are. You know, it's. I wouldn't say all or nothing, but I mean, you got to make sure you're perfect, and you know, you can always go back and second guess yourself like that. I just remember one time they said, "Hey, we can go the other way and play 2-man and play 2 over the top," and I did that probably, you know, 2 years ago. I did that, and all of a sudden they went for a straight touchdown over the top, and then I said, "Well, why didn't I bring the blitz?" You know what I mean? Everybody's really good after the conversation, you know, on the headsets or whether it's in the newspaper or whatever, it's always, hey, second guess, you know what I mean? So, you know, that was my thought process, is like, hey, let's put some pressure on him. You know, this is a good quarterback. I think we had him rattled a little bit as far as what he does, and, you know, I don't know, we held him to 20 points and, you know, 200 and some yards. I think they were averaging 300 yards rushing and 280 in the passing game, you know. But that doesn't anything. We lost the game, so that's the only score that really matters, you know. But that was my thought process about it.
Jack.
Hi, Jack here with ACRG. Back to general blitz philosophies there. How do you decide, basically, you're mixing and matching who's going to be the 5th or 6th rusher? We've seen Jaden Harrell come from the field side, or Jaden Harrell up the middle, Xavier blitzing, Cohen blitzing. What's the rhyme and reason behind that?
Well, it's obviously we spend some time in this building preparing for that, you know, and we're always looking for answers like, hey, how can we get some pressure on these guys to make sure that in certain down and distance, you know, we break it down all the way the 3rd downs and then the 2nd downs, and what we try to do is figure out how can we put pressure on them and how can we get there. Some of the pressures that we call sometimes might not get there. You have to adjust. So we work on that during the week. We have a set plan of, hey, the ideas that come in with our staff, and everybody's involved that's in our staff, and we talk about it, and so we have a plan to go through it, and then, later in the week as you're going through and preparing, you try to see what ones that you feel is the best ones, and that's when you call them, I guess that, I don't go in there and say, hey, I want to call bad blitz, but usually what happens, though, we're pretty good about, adjusting those blitz. You could call something and it could check to another thing, or the pattern could change. So there's a lot of different things that can change based on the way they line up. So, and who's where.
Hey Phil, Elliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider. Wanted to ask about the three linebackers, Jaden Harrell maybe specifically, but are you happy, satisfied with the way they've played so far this season? And I know Jaden Montgomery got in and sent him on the blitz right away. And I guess what were you thinking about his play in the little bit that he's been able to see?
He's been doing a good job, and Montgomery's been doing a great job in practice, and he knows the system, and he's a hard worker. His dad's a coach, so his dad played here. I mean, he has all the buy-ins as a player on defense, and you really like and enjoy that. But when Harold went down, he's been doing a great job of understanding what we have to do and making sure that the front is adjust the way it should be, and I think he's been doing a good job. And Carson, I think he's really done some good things for us too at the Willbacker. So. All those guys, they're growing. They're still young, and there's not a lot of playing time as far as like a full time when it's meaningful doing a game. And I think they've done a great job. And Seth has, obviously got them in the right direction.
Mentioned KJ and just going off that, with the new linebacking core, filling the gap at wide leaves, calling it an expanded role, Xavier moving over. Just through 5 games, the defense of this entire unit, are they on schedule in terms of expectation? Just where they are considering there's a lot of variables.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm really pleased the way they're going about their business, and the work ethic that they do in practice, the preparation in the building here, what they do, and it's all been positive, and that's the thing you really enjoy. And you're going to see, I've seen growth already in the first 5 games, and I expect more, as we go through it, and as they play more. Obviously, they see things more, and it's just even the last game. They come back and they can see things like this. Hey, coach, now I know what you're talking about. I can see it. So the more reps they get, it's hard. When you're pursuing to the ball, the angles changes all the time, and we've obviously been working on some. We've missed some tackles, and we've been trying to work on that. And it's not easy to try to tackle them. They were good running backs, and being more consistent of how you get there, the sense of urgency, the angles that you take, and make sure that you eliminate those missed tackles or explosive plays.
First off, nice to meet you.
Huh?
I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask a little bit about the turnovers. Getting back-to-back turnovers in the last 2 games. I know there's 4 games where there wasn't a turnover generated. What did you see, if you saw a switch between those first 4 games without a turnover and then these 2 back-to-back games with an interception?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You talk about when you play a little bit more man coverage, a little bit more press coverage, you get less eyes on the ball, and we probably are playing a little bit more press, a little bit more man at times, and when you do that, you're not looking at the ball. And when you play more zone, you got more guys looking at the ball, you can see it and have better opportunities for interceptions. When you're playing bump and run, or whether you're playing some type of man-to-man, it's usually you're still playing tight coverage that you might get more pass breakups, but not more turnovers. So that's kind of a thing we've been working on, but we've always been working on the turnover circuit that we have at the beginning of practice. And I think eventually what it is, them turnovers come as you graduate. They'll come to you if you're doing what you're supposed to do. And, obviously we want more takeaways, but you stop somebody sometime on 4th down, that's like a takeaway, as I look at it, so there's different ways to look at it and different philosophies, but obviously I think we're low in takeaways too.
Hey Phil, Tom Caper.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. You?
Good. Wanted to ask you about, you brought up the tackling. How do you work on that during the season? Because it seems like it's really limited in terms of time. Is that a bye week focus this week for your team?
No, we do it every day. We go through a tackling circuit doing practice every day, but it's not like we're taking these guys down to the ground and it's just basic. You're doing the fundamental things of, how to tack, how to strike, how to wrap up, and I think our guys they've been doing it for a long time, and then I guess you start going back and the cutting and down into the guys that you have on your team, and things have changed how we're starting to practice a little bit. We can't be as aggressive probably on, we probably need to be more aggressive in the springtime of making sure that these guys are on task and do more live stuff. But I don't know if that's the answer either. I think it all comes down to guys processing usually the play faster and knowing the right angles, how they have to go to the ball. And I think everybody there's always a guy that's outside, supposed to be an outside support guy. There's always going to be an inside guy, and there's always going to be a guy running the alley, and there's always got to be a run pass guy. So, them structures haven't changed in the 27 years that I'm going on, or 26. I've been here, I don't know, 6 weeks. But they all been the same philosophy as far as what we're looking to. And it all starts with your eyes and seeing things, whether it's a reverse or something, how to leverage things. Lutmer over here, we give him a missed tackle on the sideline over here. He's on this side over here, but he runs the guy out, somewhere like 35 yards on the other side. Doesn't really tackle him, but he forces him out of bounds, and he's a missed tackle. Well, I don't know if it's a missed tackle. If he wasn't there, the guy would still be running. So, there's a kind of decision whether you're saying, is that a missed tackle? If you don't get there and have an opportunity to wrap a guy up, how can you say it's a missed tackle? You just didn't get to the right spot. So our whole idea is make sure you get to where the ball is. Simple game. My dad used to say, tackle the guy with the ball. Is that simple? That's all you do. Everybody's played backyard football before, and you play 3-on-3. Everybody's going to leverage the ball and tackle the guy that has the ball. That's simple. Hard to do. So.
Brad Schultz, Daily Island. Coach Cohen Intringer came up with 2 big 4th down stops against Indiana. What have you seen from him so far this year?
Oh, he's a great kid. I think he has, he started his high school years of, as a soccer player and then turned over to more of a football player. And he's really young in the experience of us talking about being has he been playing for so many years. And it's new for him. All this stuff is new, and the leadership, I think he's doing a great job in that. Obviously there's 2 good 4th down stops that he had. But, there's going to be some times when you talk to him, he's going to say, I could have done better. And that's the guys that you want, And I think everybody on our team is like that. And if they don't worry about the plays they make, they worry about the plays they didn't make. And when you get into that frame of mind of thinking and making sure that, hey, I'm humble enough to understand the game of football is very, very hard to do. And, it can humble anybody. You sit and watch the NFL guys, and they're giving up 40 points a game. I don't know what I would do with that. I'd probably be taking more, blood pressure pills. Obviously I'm starting to run out.
Take 2 more, Ethan. Ethan Petrik quite a few times. Going back to Cohen's 2 stops and 4th down and Zach's 3rd and short stop, the play before Cohen's 1st
Yeah.
down stop. How much are those like short yardage situations, what you're scheming up or what you're telling the guys to do, and how much of that is just incredible individual effort for the 11 guys that are on the field?
I think it's both, and then, when you start going through it, there's always some thought process how you want to play the things. When you do what, you got to have it. What do you want to do? Whether it's the one I blitz on 3rd and down, you got to have it. Let's go. Let's get it done right now. Or it's on short yardage, whatever it is. If we don't stop them here, then the game could be over. So there's sometimes you got to make the decision and say, hey, you got to put more risk out there. But there is a risk and reward. And, we turned out to be all right on the first 3, the 3rd down and shorts, but not so lucky on the 3rd down and 10. So there was a trade-off in that. But, I think it was good. I mean, I think we practiced it a lot. I don't know if we called it a ton yet, and the execution was obviously, pretty good at what they did. Now, you go back and look at it, there's a couple of guys that weren't perfect. It's hard to be perfect. You try to teach these guys to be perfect in practice, just so you have a chance to compete on game day. And that's hard. You know, and it's hard for everybody to do that on every play. And just like anything else, and you guys do, you guys write articles, you guys do that. Are you giving your best every time? Sometimes when you put your effort out there, sometimes you go back and grade yourself, or do you have it in public where somebody sees it and actually grades it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, hey, God, you know, what's my resume like that? Ooh. How many stories did I have that were perfect, and boy, I didn't miss anything on that, you know? So sometimes, you know, it's easier, you know. It's nice when nobody's evaluating, you know what I mean? So, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything. I'm just saying it's hard. It's hard. Football's a hard game. It's fun. It's a kid's game, and I'm very fortunate to be part of this, you know, a game that we're playing. Love it, and I'm glad to see the kids. You see the development, and being around these kids. That's what makes it fun. It's not about anything else besides seeing the way the kids work as a team, and that's the best. Offense, defense, special teams.
Last question, Chad.
Chad Leicester again. Speaking of kids, I know you guys are really high on Buffington, Reese, and Weisskopf prospects. And I know they're not in the depth chart now, but is this bye week a chance to really give them a look? And is there any way they could crack into the actual rotation barring an injury this year?
Oh yeah, they're right on the edge there. I mean, we're trying to making sure we get a lot of reps with those guys, and you know, I'm sitting there looking at the practice today. I said there's a lot of reps for these guys to improve, and they've been doing really well doing camp, and we know they're on their way and the verge. But the other guys are a little bit ahead knowledge-wise. But you know, these guys are coming along, and they've been sitting here for 5 weeks, and they see what's going on, and they have a chance to, you know, get in there, help us, whether it's a series, whether it's 2 series or something like that. I think all 3 of them have a chance. Obviously, they work on the special teams, so they've been in games already. So, you know, we're pleased with the way they're working.